What do you know about your workplace that you are not supposed to know? I work in education. My former chairman allowed a female employee to embezzle money from the school. I found out and blew the whistle. I assumed the woman would be fired and the chair would be demoted. Instead, the woman was asked to quit and given a package, and the chair stayed in his position because of his status as a coach. He proceeded to make my job very difficult for the next 5 years until he gave up the chairmanship to someone competent. The woman was his work wife and mistress, who also used to be his student, at our school. Casino worker. There are a disturbing amount of suicides that happen on property. Almost none are reported to the public. My friend's mom did this. No gambling problems. Just long-term depression and the desire that she be found within 24 hours, and by a stranger. I know the key code to a storeroom I am not really supposed to. I use it for naps. Once, instead of receiving my paycheck, I received a file containing every paycheck of everybody in the company. Thus, I knew how much money everybody were making, what benefits they had, etc., including the CEO and high management. My wife got a spreadsheet from her manager, who was an asshole, that basically showed everyone's salary. Surprise, surprise, the director's daughter, who had no education in the field, was being paid the most. Edit, it wasn't a private organization. My boss was sleeping with our head and they're both married, not to each other. Reported to our. Oh wait. The CEO does coke before public speaking. Starts thumping chest. Do you jerk off? Ka. My boss stores beer in the server room because the temperature is always kept cool. Now that is genius. Is that for the team or just the boss? There is a beer crate in his office that's supposedly for the team, but alas it's always empty, haha. The bed bugs in the hotel beds are not isolated to one room anymore. The admin password for our laptops. The IT guy from 4 years ago never changed it. My first internship, I had a very restricted laptop that frequently needed the admin password to do anything. My boss kept it on a sticky note. In a meeting I memorized it. I never needed him to authorize something and my efficiency went through the roof. From my last job. Under no circumstances are you even to look at what's going on in the other half of the plant. What was going on? They were building an automated side. Got replaced by a robot a year later. They're slowly replacing machines at the factory I work at with automatic machines. They take up more room currently but do the same work as 4 machines in one, and use 16 the people. This factory can't keep people because society is changing and nobody wants to work 12-hour shifts, 2 days 1 week, 5 the next, rotating. I'm less than a month away from quitting and I can't ducking wait. The pay is the only thing that would keep me, but it's literally making me suicidal. My dad retired from there and my mom still works there, and like other people say in the plant, I'm not gonna be a lifer. The reason my boss won't replace the aging fleet of company cars for people below him is because he wasn't allowed to get the car he wanted and now has pouting and nobody is getting new cars. A Jeep Patriot isn't supposed to live to 200,000 miles. Do you work for NCR? Not a current job but at a past job, my manager quit and the CEO gave me access to his email so I could find information about how to do projects he only knew about. I started looking for all the salary information from all the coworkers on my team. Found out I was being paid significantly less than the person who previously had my position. I went and negotiated about a 40% raise with the CEO based on that information. How smooth was that conversation? I didn't tell him that I knew about the salary stuff. The manager left right when I was due for a raise anyway. Plus with his departure, I took over a lot of work but was not made manager. I started about 25% higher than I thought I was going to get. He told me he couldn't go that high, obviously, and we settled on an amount about 10% higher than I thought I was going to get. So I was pretty happy with it overall. That company was terrible to work for and our department wasn't valued at all, purchasing and transportation. I paid for myself every year with what I saved the company. They paid dock workers more than me, even with the raise, and I was handling over $1 million in capital on a monthly basis. I ended up leaving about 6 months later when I was passed up for the management position where I was told I wasn't experienced enough and he promoted someone who was less experienced than me to the position. The reason there's high turnover is because management fired the one competent manager for being too kind. There's a saying something like people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. The version I heard was people don't quit jobs, they quit bad leadership. Leadership and coworkers in general. You have to practically live with them every day, so if it doesn't mix well then you're ducked. I had my dream job years ago, and after 2 years I realized how toxic the environment was and how shitty my coworkers secretly were. My office purposely messes up people's wages to see if A, they're honest about receiving extra, or B, they can save money by not paying at all. It's such a scum thing to do, just glad it never happened to me. That must be illegal. At least I hope it is. I received too much at my first real job, and that was my first real paycheck. Didn't really notice, thought it was something with before and after taxes. After 2-3 months I caught on that this wasn't supposed to be this high. Reported it, and they allowed me to keep the money already received and gave me an official raise in order to avoid having to lower my pay. That was generous of them. Smile. That sounds like a great company to work with. I've emailed management several times about receiving unclaimed holiday pay and they've just ignored me every time. It was a great company, yes. Been away there for a while now though. Only one of the security cameras actually works. The rest are for show. Edit, morning grammar. Also, at a credit union I worked at, I knew both halves of the combination to the vault. Those security cameras did work for sure though. Second edit, guys, I work in a call center, there's nothing to rob except extremely outdated computers. Everyone's passwords. We store them in clear text. It's horrifying. Edit, it's not seeing the passwords themselves that is awful, you donkeys, it's the fact that is a security time bomb. When requesting a new key code to the alarm at a previous job, I was forwarded the entire list with everyone's code, including the backup key code for the lock. I'm pretty sure I could walk in at night, key in the CEO's key, and walk out with literally everything of value. What's the code? I'll store it in clear text in my head, just as secure. Would it surprise you if I told you it was mostly birthdays? Geez, dude. That at my zero drug tolerance workplace, the CEO's executive assistant and the head of our do coke on weekends together. So I know when they're not going out that weekend there'll be a workplace drug test the end of the next week. That's really ducking convenient for some. Yeah, but for coke it's not as risky as it mainly is detectable with a standard piss test for maybe 2 days. Most of it really drops off after 24 hours. Source, not doing coke, used to work in a drug and alcohol rehab facility. My boss has been banging the secretary, who is married, for years, and it's a secret that the secretary's first kid, 14-yo, is my boss' biological child. My boss is also married with kids. Old job. Those shiny new fume hoods and laminar flow cabinets didn't actually have working vents. That seems like something the government should hear about. Those things aren't just for decoration. Actually, I've seen a fair number of biotech startups that will build out a lab for show while working to get more venture capital invested in their business. They usually have a smaller, dirtier workspace that's actually being used. Often have their fanciest equipment in the showroom and usually allow a limited amount of work to be done in that room. If the fume hoods aren't actually needed in that room, they for sure won't go through the expense of hooking them up. That's about $50K plus of infrastructure that investors won't be seeing. Yep, our school's shiny biotech labs are only for freshmen looking at plant cells, but those labs are the ones that go in the brochure. Ike if they are hooked or not, but let me tell you, cell line studies, cloning, editing, none of that is being done in those hoods. My favorite is that my lab has blue lab coats as normal process, but we have spare white dress coats that everyone breaks out for photos and visitors, so we look more like real chemists like on TV. At a place that I used to work, I was the only person with any smarts. I set up the spam filter to forward to my inbox any maybe emails that it caught, which I would then look at and forward on if they weren't spam. On 2 occasions I was forwarded an email receipt for Viagra which one of my colleagues had purchased with his work email address. I just deleted them rather than forward on because it's just easier that way. I bet he works hard.